Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go check out my website at skyazrael.com for life coaching and mentoring. I want to talk about holding a grudge. How long are you going to stay angry? How long are you going to stay angry with people for what they did to you in the past? Forever? Will you hold a grudge against your enemies forever? Will you hate them forever? Your abusers, the people that abused you, the horrible, horrible stuff that they did to you. Will you hold a grudge forever? Until you die. Do some people deserve to be hated forever? For you to have that anger when you think about them, wish death upon them. What if I told you that the only way that you'll fully mature into adulthood, and the only way that you will reach your ultimate greatness, is through a process of forgiveness? That the grudges you hold are what's holding you back from being the greatest version of your grandest vision of yourself, from reaching your ultimate goals. Your grudge is holding you back. That anger that you've tied to the past, that you've tied around people to your past, that's going to hold you back from moving forward. Those are your anchors, those are your weights. You may get to a plateau in your life and not be able to move past it. You can't go any further. This is as good as life seems to get. Well, one of the reasons for that is because that you are still tied to the past. How can you move forward? You've met the end of your rope. You have to cut that rope. Now, when we talk about forgiveness, I have to ask people, why do you hold a grudge? What does it do for you to stay angry forever? And a lot of people kind of act like their anger is what keeps them from getting burned again, from getting screwed over again, from being abused again. But is the anger the lesson? Could you take the lesson and become wiser? But release the hatred, or the anger, or the shame, or the guilt, the negativity. Release the negative emotional connection that you have to people, while still retaining the lesson that they taught you, or that those experiences taught you. There's bad people out there, and they do fucked up things. And it's hard to forgive somebody who really screwed you over, who really abused you, who really hurt you. Somebody who devastated you, somebody who ruined your life. It's hard to forgive them. I know what this is like, to where in so many scenarios I could just pick any one of them and talk about this. I've held on to a lot of anger. I was angry at my fiance for cheating on me, for leaving me right before we were going to get married, although it was better that she left me when she did as opposed to after we got married. And then I would have had to pay for a divorce. But I stayed angry at her for the betrayal and for all the various things she did. I'm not going to get into the story, but we all have similar stories. And I stayed real bitter and angry with her for years, until I noticed that it was holding me back in my relationships. I was having a hard time experiencing love, not just loving others, but feeling loved. And when I got into it psychologically and wondered, what's the deal with this? Why am I having relationship problems as I move forward in life? I found that it all tied back to my grudge that I held. This deep-seated anger that was still there, burning hatred that was still there, resentment that was still there from that one breakup with my fiance. That one relationship, I didn't get over it. I didn't forgive. When you get over something, you have to forgive. It doesn't mean I'm going to ask her out again. It doesn't mean we talk and everything's cool. I can still think she's a terrible person without experiencing anger, getting triggered by an emotional connection to the past. That water is under the bridge. It's long gone. It's time to let it go. The only way you move forward is by letting go of the past. You can't receive your greatness until you release your regret. Release your negativity, release your shame, release your anger. And when I went through that process, which wasn't just a light switch, it took me a while to think about this. And how could I forgive her for doing what she did? She basically ruined my life. And I had to go through a few different avenues, go down a few different roads of within my mind, to think about relationship stuff, think about my childlike ideas of romance, think about this fantasy of fulfilling some sort of destiny as if we were Adam and Eve. And I had these ideas in my head, and that's what was keeping me so hurt. And when I forgave myself for being stupid, forgave myself for being naive, forgave myself for being a bad fiance, a bad boyfriend, forgave myself for the weakness that I experienced back in those days, the mental weakness that I was going through. Then it made it easier to forgive her for her weaknesses and her failures. And she hurt me, and she did it maliciously. She's a bad person. So I'm not trying to rekindle anything. I know I'm just harping on this one point, but you need to understand that forgiveness isn't a gift we give to somebody. It's a gift you give to yourself, and the gift is that you're cutting the cords of the past so you can move on. You have to forgive your parents. Start with them. Forgive your mother and your father. Forgive your mother for being weak. Forgive your father for being a drunk or a tyrant. Forgive them for being unattentive. Forgive them for being too strict. Forgive them for locking you in closets, for beating you, for raping you. Forgive them for it. And it may be hard to do, but once you do, you will find your greatness. You'll finally be mature. You'll move into adulthood in a proper way, and you'll give up the past. We need to give up the past so we can live in the present. What's keeping you from living in the here and now is all that bullshit swirling around inside your head from the past. And the only way that you'll be able to cleanse that dirtiness inside your head, finally be able to see clearly, is through forgiveness. Forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. It's all food for thought. If you need further explanation, contact me.